Okay, so I'm sure you guys can tell by the title and the thumbnail that today I'm going to be talking about what I think is the biggest problem in Destiny right now. Now, I'm sure many people will disagree with this and the point that I'm going to make, which is totally fine. So I'm sure everyone has differing opinions on what the biggest issues are in the game. But just remember, this is my opinion. I just wanted to bring it up because at least talking about things like this and getting people talking about them and discussing it is the best way to help get them fixed. So let's get into it. Alright, so I want to start this off by saying I'm not trying to bash Bungie or anything they're doing. I'm just trying to say what I think is the biggest issue and that mostly causes a lot of frustration in this game. Also, I'm just going to throw some clips in the background. I've used most of them before on the channel. It's just something to watch while I'm talking about this. The main focus of this video is just going to be the commentary. Well, what is this big problem that I'm talking about is actually going to be weapon range. Now, I know that might sound crazy. Out of all the issues in the game currently, how could weapon range be the biggest one? Well, let me explain. Basically, the way the game currently is, at least half of your fights or more even in this game are decided in orbit when you equip your weapons. Now, that is mostly because of the range of your weapons. I mean, it's a lot of things, but it essentially comes down to range or damage, I guess, but mostly range. And that's because the weapons are too niche or specialized, I guess. For example, if you're using an SMG and your opponent has really any other primary, a hand cannon, a pulse, a scout rifle, whatever, you'll win that fight up close pretty much no matter what, simply because you have an SMG and they don't. It doesn't really matter. As long as you guys are on similar skill levels, roughly, you'll just straight up win SMG versus anything else up close. 100 to 0. There's really no chance they have unless you really screw up. Now, am I saying that this is unfair or unbalanced? No, I'm not. I understand that there is a skill gap to playing your weapons range. I get that, but what I am saying is that it's unfun. I'm not saying it's unfair or unbalanced, it's just unfun. In my opinion, it is super unfun to lose a fight simply because of your loadout and really nothing else. I mean, at range, I use a hand cannon. If somebody's too far away, I can shoot at them with my hand cannon and it'll do 9 damage. I could hit them 9 times before they even acknowledge my existence, and they could turn and just 2-tap me with the pulse rifle. I get that the pulse rifle should have an advantage at range, but currently my hand cannon could not kill. They'd probably regen before it could even kill them, and that's not how it should be, in my opinion. And again, I'm not saying this is unbalanced or unfair, I think it's just unfun. Also, it's not really that hard to play your range in this game, especially if it's close range. You can go invisible, things like that, but you can run an SMG and a shotgun, for example, and if you just only choose to fight people up close, I mean, you'll pretty much beat anyone one-on-one in the entire lobby if they're anywhere near your skill level, if they don't have the same weapon type as you. I mean, as a sniper main, I seriously hate dying to shotguns. Anyone who knows me knows that I really hate dying to a shotgun. And most of the time when I die to one, you'll just hear me say something like, oh, I died because I didn't have a shotgun equipped. My bad. There's nothing I could have done. I just died because I didn't have a shotgun. Now, do I think that shotguns need a nerf then? No. If anything, I think they need a buff. But it still doesn't change that it's super unfun to die to one, and they feel super oppressive unless you have one. I mean, the same could be said to when I snipe someone who has a shotgun. They're gonna say oh, snipers are OP. They whatever. They're gonna complain about the sniper because there's nothing they could have done either, really. So it's just both ends. It feels super unfun. Another example of this would be if you were a pulse rifle and if someone runs up on you with an SMG and just absolutely beams you. There's literally nothing you could do, so the pulse rifle is just be oh wow, that guy had an SMG, I hate SMGs, I stood no chance. Then 2 minutes later, the pulse rifle guy will run into that guy at range, 2 burst him at range, and the SMG guy will be wow, I had no chance, I hate pulse rifles. They're both going to be frustrated by that. And the crazy thing is that neither of those things are necessarily broken or OP, they're just not fun for either of the person when they're at the wrong range. And that's the problem though, is that you can say this about pretty much any gun in the game. At the correct range or situation, any other gun in the game will feel super oppressive to someone who doesn't have that same gun. I mean, SMGs, sidearms up close, auto rifles, hand cannons at mid-range. I mean, auto rifles are pretty weak right now, but still, if you were far enough from someone with an SMG, you would still beat them easily. This just shows that at the correct range, your weapon will just win if the other person doesn't have the right weapon for that range. And I just don't think that should be the case. Like, currently you win 100 or 0 really at range if you have two different weapons. One will win 100% of the time if the players are close in skill level. But really, I think to fix this, it should be more like 70 to 30 or 75-25. Like, the weapon should still have an advantage, and a pretty big one at that range, but they should at least have a chance of losing. Like, for example, if you have an SMG and you run up on someone up close, it shouldn't just be that you automatically win. You should still have to be on your toes, or at least pay attention to your shots and make sure you're hitting them. You shouldn't just auto win because, oh, you have an SMG and they don't. Because currently, as you can see in some of these SMG clips I'm showing, I'm just running around and shooting these people with this, and they don't have one, so they're just losing. I mean, I could shoot like 5 people in a row up close, and if they don't have an SMG, they really have no chance. So that just shows basically what I'm talking about. So basically, in summary, what I'm saying is I think that all the guns in this game have gotten way too specialized for certain ranges or situations, and if you just play in those ranges or play to your strengths, it's not just that you have an advantage, it's that you have an overwhelming advantage to where it's pretty much 100 to 0. The only real fights in this game are when it's two of the same weapons, when you both have a hand cannon or both have a shotgun. Those are the only real gunfights where skill comes into play, when it's one-on-one. Otherwise, it really just comes down to your loadout you picked in orbit or whatever guns you happen to like. So I feel like leveling that out would be the best way to fix this. Maybe SMGs should be a little weaker up close, but much better at range. I think extending the range of a lot of guns would really help, and maybe the long range guns buffing their handling a lot so that a scout rifle would be more competitive up close or something like that. I know it would be very hard to do. You'd pretty much have to rework every weapon in the game. So I'm not saying I think this will happen, but I do think this is the underlier to a lot of frustration in this game, is because you lose to stuff that you really have no chance of beating, and it's not really your fault a lot of times, especially in 6v6. You could just spawn in, and if you spawn in and someone's too close to you already and you don't have the right gun for that, you just lose. So anyway, that's what I think. That's my opinion. So let me know what you guys think. I try to read most of the comments, so feel free to leave a comment. Let me know if you agree or disagree. I'm sure a lot of people will definitely let me know that they disagree, which is fine. So definitely let me know. I try to read most of them and get back to you guys. So I appreciate all the support, and thanks for watching.